Can you hear me? Yeah, cool. So tonight I wanted to talk to you about React Native custom components, and I wanted to talk to you about React Native custom components and how easily they can be, they can extend your application based on the grid that Facebook provided to us. So a bit of presentation before. You might ask, who am I? Yeah, this guy is going to introduce himself. If you can you hear me again? Yep. So my name is Jeremy. I'm French. Sorry about that. So if you can't deal with my accent, apologize. But Alex, the native speaker, is French as well, so you hear a lot of accent. So I've been a front-end developer since 4 years now, and I've also been a bit of iOS developer for a year. I didn't really know what I was doing, but yeah. Now I'm working in Australia for Honor, which is a digital advertising agency, and I've been doing for them a bit of React since, well, actually 1 year, and a bit of React Native as well since 3 months. And I also love Game of Thrones, and you might see a lot of big names around that. So here we go. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is like the current state of the React Native components, what we can find on the core, the Facebook has provided to us, and also why and when you might need to create yours in iOS code or Java, and how you can do it. And at the end, I'm going to conclude with a bit of personal feedback that I've learned from creating my own, which is called React Native Sketch. I'm going to talk about that later. So, the current state of the components. I thought it was pretty right. So yeah, React Native has been around since 1 year now, as we all know, and it's been a blast. Like. They can count now like more than 700 contributors, 6,000 commits. Like the community has really well reacted to that. It's another pun. Reacted. And so yeah, so they helped the React Native community to grow. I mean, they helped a lot with the commits, and the popularity of it has been, overwhelming. That didn't stop, and that is a bit of, I don't know if you can see it, but it's just a tweet from a guy that just saying, normally you shouldn't count by the GitHub stars, but it's been quite nice that to see React Native has been overtaken the Linux repository. So I was pretty happy to see that. And so, at the moment, what we can find in the React Native is a bit of, like a huge list of components already ready to use. I've counted something like 35. I'm not counting the API stuff, just the components, what we can render on the screen. And so, yeah, they are pretty awesome. They can provide you 90% of what you might need. Like in 90% of the case, with just that, you can build an application ready to go. So they are pretty awesome, except these two guys. Like, I don't know about you, I don't know if you use these ones, but I really struggle with this one. Firstly, to understand, like, I didn't really struggle to understand because like this one was obviously for iOS, the second one, but with the, like, I didn't know. Should I use this one because I'm gonna only do an iOS application? Then the syntax itself was not really easy to understand. So I don't know. I think it was a bit of a struggle for me at least. And so fortunately, they provided recently. I've seen that on GitHub. They're talking about a new way of working with the navigation component. So it's kind of pretty cool because they use this kind of Redux way of working. So I don't know if you've used Redux before. I should have asked this question before, but Redux is kind of cool. So you can actually work with a function that say based on the action type that you pass to that, I'm gonna go forward, I'm gonna go backwards, and I'm gonna make a bit of work in between. So if you want to have a look on that in order to not finish like this guy. I put together some links if you want to read more about that. And so the point behind that is like the community and the Facebook team together, they brought a lot of stuff together, a lot of stuff for us, and that's keep going, right? Recently on the 27 versions, they worked on the swipeable list view, like it's growing really fast, and I think that should look like this one. So it's just a capture of what it should look like. I'm pretty excited to see what it should look like. Anyway, that's just a capture from another repository, and I thought it would be similar to this one, so I just put a capture. So yeah, the point is behind that is like React Native just by itself is really good. Like I said, I think 90% of the cases you can actually do your application and build with just that components. So we've got a lot of components for you. The community is like really present and can help you if you in need. Everything moves really quickly. Every 2 weeks we provide a new release. They also done this kind of, because everything was going too fast, and they also worked on product paint to order the features that you might request as a developer. So that's all good, but at some point, in 10% of the cases, maybe you might need more than that. You might need more than these components. And I found some of the components that I needed for work, not inside the built-in components, but inside the React core, but from the community itself. And some of them are pretty cool, and I just thought, you know, like the camera is one of them, provided by Locke Vance Group. Sorry if I say it wrong. The camera itself is one of the components that you request the most for a mobile app, right? So I just found it a bit surprising that it was not provided by Facebook itself. No offense. We can also find some other components like the map, the video component. So the funny fact, this guy, Brent Batney, he proposed as a pull request his code for the Facebook, the video component to be merged into the React Native repository. He has been declined, saying, all right, we're gonna wait a bit for stability, because even if it's really pretty similar to the image component, well, actually we're gonna wait a bit. And since then, that stayed on his own repository. Never been merged back to React Native. We could also explain from a framework like this to have access to the file system. So there's another one provided by Jonas Wimper to access to the file system. And I think the point behind that is like Facebook has maybe thought, all right, there's no point for us to actually reinvent the wheel, like it's already done and done well by the community, so we're not gonna merge that back into the core. So the point behind that is like, you as a developer might find some of the components into the wild, like into the community, from the community. And so there is two use cases that you, or when you might need to get a new, to create a new custom component. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. So the first one is when you actually didn't find any wrapper around your need, provided around the UI kit classes. So or the community. So it's written, right? You can read it. That's fine. And so in that case, if you didn't find any wrapper around what you need, you have to write the logic yourself in the iOS or Java or Android. And at this point, you'll be like, oh no, I don't know how to do that. And the other use case is like you have in your team some mobile developers with you, and or you found something that is actually useful, but only written in Objective-C or Java, and you want to reuse that class and that logic inside the JavaScript code. And in that case, Facebook provided a bridge for you, and you're more lucky. That's the bridge. All right, it's not funny. So they split the native components, the custom component into two stuff. Like there is like one which is what they call a utility. That's just a component that actually doesn't render anything. It's just you know, it access to the API, to the specific code of the platform, but doesn't render anything and get the data back to you in JavaScript. And the other one is just the UI component. So it's just, what I mean is like it does that, and as well is render something in the native code. So UI view or whatever. So these two components, you might ask, oh, I'm going to create that, and I'm here to explain that to you with a bit of demo. So here we are. So from now on, I'm going to assume that you've already built a working React Native application, just a small one. So here we are. So I've got so just prior to this meetup, I've just init my React Native application, and that's it. So I've got the welcome to React Native screen. I'm going to drop that link. It's going to be okay. So I've just created that application, but what I need is actually I'm gonna assume that you have created a cool list view. All right. So this is my just the basic one, the one that has been generated by the React Native init command, right? So it's just a welcome screen. I've just prepared this file, which is just a list view that renders, like I'm gonna fetch some Reddit subreddit of game options. As you can guess, I'm a real fan of it. I'm gonna fetch that, I'm gonna sparse the response, and based on the results, I'm gonna either so update my state, and otherwise I'm gonna flip the table, right? And on the render method, I'm just render the loading if I'm loading. Otherwise, I'm rendering the data, right? So pretty classic, right? I'm just gonna test that it's actually working. All right. As you may notice, I've put the fetch method inside the set timeout, so we can actually see that it's fetching for a while. The point behind that is like I've looked for something that you might need, but just possible inside the iOS platform. I just found, alright, everything is already I don't know. It was really hard to find something really useful. So I just thought, alright, I'm gonna develop a loader, right? That's pretty cool. And with this loader, I'm gonna put a bit of sound because you can do that only with iOS. Like there is no sound component provided for you by the built-in components. So what I'm gonna start with is just a command line. Right. So I'm gonna type in React Native new library, which is a way for you to generate a new custom component, and I'm gonna call it odor because it's cool. Right. So I don't know exactly why this is kind of extra stuff. Don't know exactly why it's generating all my stuff inside the Node module. So what I'll do is just an extra step. I think normally it was supposed to, from the demo, it was supposed to generate that folder inside my libraries folder, which is just at the root of my, Normally the libraries folder is here, and normally I think that should be generated inside. So I'm gonna just move that. I think it was not module, React Native. Libraries. All right, so the extra step after that is just to link the library to your Xcode. So I'm gonna open that project with Xcode. And so from my Finder, I'm gonna link that files to the Xcode. So two things: you have to link the you have to link that this has been generated by the command line. You have to link that Xcode project into your libraries folder here. Okay, you can see it. And the second step is just go to the build phases, link the binary, which is here. Just gonna check that everything works. Normally my server should be running already. Extra step, so for my loader with a sound, I'm gonna need some sounds. So I'm gonna drag and drop as well a folder of cool songs here. Songs, what I mean, order is stress, order is hungry, shit like that. Yeah, still compiled. Cool. So the next step is, as I say, you have the use case of you found something on internet which you don't know anything about iOS development, right? So you found something that could be useful for you, and I actually found or developed myself a small audio loader here, and so it just, I don't know if you can understand a bit of iOS code. It's just you're loading a file somewhere, you're just initiating an audio player, setting it to to play infinitely, and then play it. You have another method here which says, "Oh, I'm gonna stop that song," and that's it. The player stops. So that's all you need to know for having a player. And so I'm gonna copy that code. And within my libraries here that has been generated, I'm gonna go into my implementation file here, and that's actually pretty cool. Facebook, like in the command line, they provided for us this methods here. I'm gonna talk about later because I'm gonna have some explanations on what's happening. At the moment, I'm just playing with that. So that should work if I compile my Xcode project, but that shouldn't actually, you couldn't access to that method from your JavaScript component. So your component doesn't do anything yet. And the way to work with that is actually instead of having this syntax here, you're gonna say, I'm gonna export that method. I'm gonna talk about it later, but I'm just showing you how to do it. So you're gonna export that method, and this one as well. And from now on, your component can actually in JavaScript use that method in iOS. So I think that's pretty easy, except the linking stuff. But that's pretty cool. The other thing to know is you have to play with. So that's been generated as well for you. This kind of wrapper for you in JavaScript. It's just a way, to provide a bit of documentation for other developers. If they want to use your package, your module here, they don't have to actually look into the code, into the native code. They have to just open it, and they have, this kind of documentation around all the method existing, all the properties you can pass to it, and all this kind of stuff. So I've got already a test method here. I'm not gonna use it. Nope. So instead, I'm gonna use the play song, and I'm gonna call it just play here. And I'm gonna call that native component order dot play sound. It's expecting a sound though, so I'm gonna pass in a string. Alright, should be enough. And then I'm gonna stop the player with just this function. So pretty straightforward, right? It's just to show you how it might work if you need to build something. And so from now on, I can jump back into my application and play the sound on the component daemon, just as to see it. So yeah, first I'm going to import that module, which is inside my libraries. Loader from the libraries. I'm going to say order, sorry. And that's it. And from now on, normally it should work, I hope. So I've got all this order of stuff, but I can also play the main Game of Thrones stuff. Alright. What do you mean? Oh, it's because I've got the live reload and you have to recompile actually. Demo effect, always.
It's just play.
What? We have forgot a step.
Oh. No sound.
Thank you. I feel pretty bad right now.
Like some define.
I swear to God, I got an example working before that. I don't know what's going on here. What? Yeah, I saw that, but shouldn't be. Oh yeah. No. No, because I've named it here. So it should be native overloader play. Right?
Need it for following the song, or is it just?
No, nobody shouldn't, because I've got the extension here in the native code. So it should just get the sound as a string and just play it here. Yeah, it was already exported here. Anyway. So, if I force it, it's not gonna work better. Place. Anyway,
The difference between overloader and native overloader?
well, normally your native is here, and you can access the old method inside it. So
Very brave to be doing low coding in front of system.
yeah, it was working here.
So I reckon if
Yeah, I'm gonna move.
give you a moment just to debug, but you keep moving on, and then if you get it working, you want to show it at the end? Because I believe you.
Yeah, maybe after Alex talk, maybe I'm gonna. Anyway, so where are we now? Anyway, so you were supposed to be impressed, and
We are impressed.
and you know, you might thought, oh, this was pretty cool and easy to do, right? That was the whole goal of this presentation. So anyway, so just to explain a bit what happened behind the scenes. So the utility component is so the way to do it, you're just, as I've shown you, generate a new library like this. Actually, the command is not correct. There's a dash between new library. And that generates the old folder with from a sample they've done. They copy and paste everything inside your my component folder name. So they provided .h, .aim, and the ios.js file for you, and you can play with that class as I've just said. You link this as I've shown you before. So you link this library into your Xcode, and then the binary, and then so yeah, the magic behind the scenes is like this. If as soon as you extend that protocol, the RCT bridge module, that's automatically provides you the bridge between actually the JavaScript code, your JavaScript component, and the iOS platform. So that's pretty powerful, right? Now, if you want to do something with your module, you can play with the RCT export module. Just, it's the way to name it. So if you don't provide anything, that's fine. Then you can code it like this after. The export method is done if you want, like as for the place on the start zone. It's just a way to wrap a method from your class and do something with that. And so you can call it like this way normally. That's yeah, and this is the wrapper that we provided from the command line. I have to persist. So you can declare that component like this way. And as I've done before, and I promise again it was working, you can change you can declare your object and saying, oh, I'm gonna declare a method which is called declaring your love, and that way you can say, all right, my component dot my method, and that could be completely something else from your native method name. And the way to do it is like you can be like the good thing with that is you can actually make some verifications, do a bit of you know, default props and stuff like that. So that's normally that's yeah. And if you want to play with native types like UI color for iOS developers, over stuff, you can do that with RCT convert. It's a macro provided by the Facebook as well on the stuff. That's it. And also, so if you want to get something from the native code, you have to know that all the methods return void, like it's new, nothing. So what you can do is actually expect to a promise, like so you're gonna have this signature of the method, and if you pass this object, if this kind of the type of them, like LCT promise result block and LCT promise reject, that's the signature of the promise. So at the end, you can call your method and expect something back, like a classic way of doing working with promises. What you can also do is specify which thread you're gonna work on. You can also export some constants to JavaScript, and you can also play with events. So if something happens in your native code, you can get that back, and you can listen that into JavaScript and say, all right, something happened, and I want to notice. And so yeah, if you're not used to iOS code, you might look like this. And so last thing, if you want to create a UI component, so something that actually play with the UI view or whatever you call it in Java, you have to extend, you have to create a new classes which extends UI view, and your main component extends what we call LCT view manager. And that way you have two main classes, the manager and the view. And it's working approximately the same way as a view controller, except that the manager is singleton. So you're going to have only one generated, only one that actually is running. And this method view is responsible for, the manager is responsible for the view, and you have to allocate a view in that method. And that way the manager is going to call himself whenever he wants to generate the view with React. It's going to play with that. And you could also define some properties for your view. So if, for example, you want to set something by default, you can say, all right, I'm going to render something by default, and I'm going to set that to my view, and all this kind of thing. You can do that with LCT export view property. That's it. So some feedbacks I've done recently. I've worked with a React Native component. I've done my own because I needed, something for work. I needed a signature component. So what I needed exactly is like a library that allows me to draw something on the screen when I touch it. And I couldn't find anything. Like I've played a bit with Canvas, with some stuff, but it was not really as smooth. And so I've played a bit with that, and I've released that, and it was pretty cool. So few lessons that I learned from doing that. Yeah, as I said, I thought it was like, I found it really. It was really cool to publish something on NPM. That was my first package, so yeah, it's cool. One drawback is like the API. I've seen that the last 3 months the API changed a lot, and so you have to be reactive. Like for example, when we passed from 20, I think it was from the 24 to the 25 versions, we had to change the way we import the modules. Like the way we play with import React. It's not import React from React Native. It's from whatever. You know what I mean. And I think it's also out of. I thought I could get some feedback. I thought it was like could be a useful component because I didn't see anything doing that. So I was like, yeah, it could be useful and giving me feedback. It's personal, right? So as a conclusion to that, I'd say custom components can be an easy way for you to separate the world of, like to fusion the world of the native into the JavaScript and extend the API yourself. Facebook has created a great tool, like the bridge module is really, really cool and powerful. If you have to build your own, I would recommend to check the docs. That's good advice. And I'd say don't be afraid of native code because it looks a bit weird, especially with brackets and stuff if you're not used to it. But as soon as you understand it, that's I mean, that's my example work. Don't be afraid of it. Some resources, if you want to build your own, I put together these links. The last two are just a list of cool stuff that you can find. Some of them are built by the community and native as well. And yeah, if you want some example of the code that you need, that you may need for your own, you can also have a look onto these ones. And that's it. I've put a link to this presentation on GitHub, and actually I've tested it 2 hours ago and it works. So please check it out, and and that will work for sure. That's it.
All right. Any questions for Jeremy? I'm going to pass the microphone around so everyone can hear you. Right. Yeah.
Can you use Swift rather than Object?
Yeah. So you have to. I didn't really dig into Swift myself, but I know that you can do it. You have to make an extra step to bridge your Objective-C into your Swift. There's another tutorial on this website, the one by Grancher, that is exactly, I think it's this one. It's exactly the same thing than this tutorial, but with Swift. I didn't put it in that list, but you can, I think, find it easily.
And for Android?
I don't know anything
You
about
can't
it.
use Swift for Android yet.
You can't do Bridge for...
Yeah, you can definitely do it. Yeah.
So how would you make that cross-platform now? Make it work for Android as well?
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. I might expect some developer, I would be keen to get some help from someone who knows a bit of Java, because there's there's this same way of working, you're wrapping your methods around your native methods. I think it's exactly the same way of working, just over syntax. So basically, I need someone who, for example, on my component, the sketch one, I might need someone who knows a bit of Java to draw something on the screen and wrap it with approximately the same way of that I've done. Is that answering your question? Or? We can talk about that if you want. Yeah?
So you had some code, so native code that started playing music, and you had some native code that stopped playing music.
Yes.
Now, in React, you'd want to represent that as an is playing property that is either true or false, as opposed to kind of start and stop side effects, probably.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that change of state? Do you do it in the native component? Do you do it in JavaScript, or how would you recommend it?
The way I've done it on my example is I checked the state of the my state with is loading or not, and depending on that, on the component, I think it was on the component did updates, if the previous state was fetching and if it's not anymore, call my method stop, and the other way around, if it was not playing and right now you want to play with the new state, my order.play my song, and it worked.
Okay.